Now, our next guest here at dedoc's Dog Day is a true champion. And some of you will know her from the press, especially if you live in Germany or the Czech Republic, especially if you're a fan of Winter Games and if you have attended the Olympic Games. Say hello to Anna Fernstädt. Anna, please join me on stage.
Hi.
Anna, I think your story has made the rounds, and we are very honored to have you here during Dog Day. You ride the skeleton. I don't even know if riding is the right term for it. I think before we start, you have to say a little bit about what you do in your professional life.
Yeah, so I do skeleton. Most of you probably will know what bobsleigh or luge is. So we just have a tiny sled. We run at the start. It's like kind of a sprint. And then you jump on your sled and you go head first on your belly down an ice track with around, depending on the track, 120 to 140 kilometers per hour.
120 to 140 kilometers per hour with your head just barely above the ice. I did see a video of that. It looks super scary to me, to be honest. Anna, the reason you are here today is that 10 days before you were set to travel to the Olympic Games this year, you were diagnosed quite late with type 1 diabetes. Tell us your story, please.
Yes, so I got diagnosed on the 17th January this year, and yeah, it was kind of crazy. It was after my last World Cup, after the qualifications for the Olympic ended, and from Christmas actually, I was feeling worse and worse. I got more and more tired. My pushing got worse and worse. When we were like already training for Olympics and working on my form, and yeah, it got worse and worse, and I was kind of feeling not myself. And in the last week before the diagnosis, that was the World Cup in St. Moritz. It got really bad. I got cramps. I couldn't sleep. I drank a lot of all the normal symptoms before you get diabetes, but I always found a reason for it, because I don't know, I didn't know the symptoms, and yeah, and I was feeling really, really off. And I remember one of my texting my coach like something is wrong, because I'm good in like doing what my coach tells me. Even if I do it wrong again, I do a different mistake, but I always did the same thing all over again. And I knew something was wrong. I couldn't coordinate my body. And after the World Cup, 3 days later, I was at home and we said, let's go for a blood check. Something really is wrong. And yeah, then I was in the hospital with a blood sugar of 670. And they told me, hey, you got diabetes. And I was like, great, I'm flying to China in 10 days. We really need to hurry up. And yeah, that's kind of it.
I think there's two things that are amazing about your story, Anna. The first thing is that you noticed quite early, you said something was wrong because you were in the middle of training, you told me earlier, training for the Olympic Games. And you said you noticed something was wrong with your body because your start times would decrease by 1/10 of a second. Now, for me, I don't even know what the difference between, I wouldn't notice if I was walking 3 seconds slower, but for you as a professional athlete, 1/10 of a second is quite a lot, I guess.
It's a lot. It's very much in our sport. And yeah, it was like every week, half or a whole tenth. That's a lot.
A half of 1/10
So
of a
we were like,
second.
yeah, 500s to 1000s, and that's quite a lot if you like get worse every week when you're actually training for the Olympics, when you should get better and better and better. And yeah, that was a horrible feeling, because you the body feels so weird and you don't know the reason and you don't know what to do, and it's so frustrating. Yeah, it's hard.
But then the diagnosis went pretty much the same as for everybody here with type 1 watching. it sounds pretty much similar to me. Like you had the usual symptoms and eventually a blood test revealed what was really happening. That sounds to me a bit weird, because I always think, professional athletes, you probably have a whole medical team, the trainers, etc. But you didn't suspect it yourself. They didn't suspect it until it was that bad that you had to go to hospital, right?
Yeah, we do have like checkups every year, but we have it in the spring every year, so after the season, before the off season starts. And actually, I was in the hospital in December, where I was tested for a virus because I was very sick and I was like vomiting. So I went there and didn't eat anything. I vomited the whole night and didn't drink, didn't eat anything. But the sisters there, they probably didn't know, for like, they tried to see the virus they were looking for. And at that time, I had already a blood sugar of 200, so I probably had it already before Christmas. And yeah, then a big checkup was in January, and then they told me I have diabetes.
And Anna, the second thing, of course, that is quite fascinating is, I remember when I was diagnosed, I was basically out of business for several weeks trying to get a custody. Well, okay, it was a different time, 25 years ago. It was before CGMs. I didn't get the proper training in the beginning, etc. You have your whole medical team around you. But still, you decided that 10 days after the diagnosis, you would still board the plane and participate in the Olympic Games.
Yeah, so I was very lucky with my medical team, and my doctor. She was like with me in contact 24/7, and we really had to rush. But yeah, my dad has also type 1 diabetes, so I knew a little bit about it. Plus, I knew a lot about nutrition because I'm an athlete. And yeah, it was very, very fast. I was 4 days in the hospital, and then tried to figure everything else. But I was like, I'm not throwing away 4 years of hard work just because I have diabetes. So I was like, we need to do this, and I'm flying in 10 days, and there's no way I wouldn't. So, and then I flew.
So how did it work out then? How did you feel at the Olympic Games? You must have lost weight, you must have lost muscle power, but you still took part. How did that work for you also psychologically? Did it hold you back, or did you just go all in?
Yeah, so I gained my weight back really fast. That was not the big problem. Um, Psychologically and mentally, it was actually hard after the Olympics, because until the Olympics, it was just so much to do. I had to focus so much on diabetes, on my performance, on the Olympics, on the training and everything. So there was so much going on that emotionally I couldn't even like understand and like process it. But yeah, it was crazy. It was like a full-time job while you're doing sport. When being at the Olympics is like the highlight of 4 years of work. And yeah, sometimes it was good because it took away the nerves, because I had like to manage it. But yeah, the numbers were okay for my race. The nerves, like I went up very high before my third run, and looking back, you think if I would have it longer, I could have maybe managed it better. Maybe not, who knows? But yeah, when I raced, and then the race was finished, the athlete in me was disappointed, because I knew I could have done better, and I didn't have the runs that I wanted, and my performance wasn't as good as it could have been if I wouldn't have been diagnosed. But being in the finish and getting seventh in the end at the Olympics, 21 days after my being in hospital, um, it was very emotional. And yeah, I think I want to get the message out there that even then, it's still possible if you know how to manage it, if you put in the work, if you're focused really hard. And yeah, so one part the athlete was a little bit sad, but on the other side, it was ridiculous what we accomplished in the games.
Anna, you see all the comments. I mean, finishing 7th, finishing in the top 10 in the Olympic Games, just not even 3 weeks after diagnosis, 2 weeks after being released from hospital. I guess it is fair to say that had your diagnosis just happened a little bit later, you would have been standing on one of those pedestals with a medal around your neck. And you saw that comment as well. You are fortunately young enough to hopefully get another shot. And then we look forward to having an Olympic athlete in a winter game, hopefully with a medal and with diabetes. It would be another strong signal to this community.
Thank you. And I will definitely do 4 more years. And in Italy to 2026, I'll do my best to get that medal and show everyone what is possible with diabetes. And yeah, thank you for inviting me.
And if you do, Anna, you have to promise me now, if you make it to the Olympic Games again, coming home with a medal, I do expect you to join us for the following Doc Day and show it to this community. Thank you very much for joining.
I will definitely. Thank you.
Word, that's a word.